Hey, birth workers, lactation consultants, coaches, course creators, or service providers whose best fan ever, ideal client is a mom, and you're creating content but not making sales, listen up. Here's what most of you are missing. Moms do not buy like business owners. So if you're following all the business coaches and Instagram gurus who only know how to sell to other entrepreneurs, that's exactly why you're getting crickets. In my sold out offer challenge, I'm teaching you exactly how to create content that converts moms into paying clients, not followers, clients. Sales. This took me from posting and praying to consistent sales. I'm going to share my exact framework and how I built a 7-figure business selling a course to moms. The challenge is $33. VIP is $147 with daily live coaching after every training. Go to trishwarecoaching.com/SOO right now. Stop posting for vanity metrics and start posting for sales. I want to tell you something that happened to me recently, and I am so stinking excited. So by the time you guys listen to this, actually the day this episode airs, I'm going to be sitting on a yacht because I have been invited along with a group of 7- and 8-figure women entrepreneurs to spend the day on a yacht, masterminding, connecting, and just being in a room. And I'm going to be sitting there surrounded by incredible women. And it is a full body pinch me. How is this my life? Because I'm a labor and delivery nurse. I am a mom of 7, you guys. I was the homeschooling mama who was always hustling and doing different things. I've done like creative memories and Tupperware and all of the things. But here I am, and I have built a business from a parking lot decision with a decline card and zero guarantee that any of it was going to work. And I want to tell you what I believe got me onto this yacht, because it's not what most people think. It's not some complicated strategy. It was not a 10-step funnel. It was not being on every platform or having a new offer every quarter. It was the opposite of all of that. And it was simplicity. Simplicity scales, complex fails. Being simple on purpose for a very long time. And that is what this episode is about. Welcome to Sold Out Sales School. I'm Trish Ware, former labor and delivery nurse, mama of 7, homeschooling mom, and the woman who built 2 7-figure businesses by doing less, doing it better, and doing it longer than everyone around me probably would have done. Today, I'm giving you the permission you've been waiting for. Permission to stop, to simplify, to go deeper instead of wider. And I'm going to show you exactly why that is not playing small. It is actually the fastest path to the life you actually want. So let's get into it. I need to tell you about a season in my business that I am not proud of. Labor Nurse Mama was working. I was doing really, really well. My birth course was selling. Women were finding it, buying it, sharing it, coming back to tell me how it had changed their experience. It was the thing. It was clearly the thing. And instead of going deeper on it, instead of refining it and scaling it and selling it with everything I had, I kept leaving it, like cheating on it with new ideas. That's it. I was committing adultery with new ideas. And I'm thinking, okay, the course is so good, but what about a membership? What if I added a guide? What if I created a lower ticket offer? What if I built out this other thing I've been thinking about? And every single time I went after a new shiny penny, and yes, that's what I call it, shiny penny syndrome. It wasn't just a new offer. It was a new funnel, new lead magnets, new content pillars, new launch strategy, new back-end setup for my team, new everything. And I was constantly starting over instead of going deeper on the thing that was already working. And here's the part that I'm going to be completely honest about, because this is the part that cost me the most. It wasn't just costing me revenue. It was costing me peace of mind. I was literally never done working. There was always something that needed to be built or created or figured out. And I was having arguments with Steve because I couldn't stop working, not because I didn't want to, but because I genuinely felt like there was always something more to do. I was exhausted. My team was exhausted. And my business was growing, but not the way it could have And it definitely wasn't growing in proportion to the amount of freaking effort we were all pouring into it. So I had a coach at the time who kept saying the same thing to me over and over again. Know your numbers, know your numbers, know your numbers. And I kept nodding and moving on because that sounded like more work to me. And I kind of thought I knew my numbers. I thought I had a handle on it until one day I finally was like, Trish, you're paying her for this information. Like, do what she's saying to do. So at the time I had a multi 6-figure business. She had a 7 to 8-figure business. So I was like, all right, I'm going to listen to her. So we sat down as a team. We looked it over. We really looked at all of it, every offer, every funnel, every revenue stream. We put it all on paper. And 90% of our sales were coming from one thing. Calm Labor Confident Birth Course, not the VBAC Lab, not the million little tiny offers I have, but Calm Labor Confident Birth Course. The thing I kept like cheating on to go create something new because, wow, if that's doing, let me do this and I'll do better. And that was carrying 90% of my business, was only getting like 10% of my time. And so I want to be honest about what that moment felt like. It was humbling. It was embarrassing, honestly, because I realized I had caused all of this for me, for my team, for my husband, for my family. So much unnecessary work and stress and chaos. For what? To have a bunch of little offers that were pulling my attention away from the one thing that was actually working. And my coach said something else to me that I've carried ever since. She told me to stop making emotional decisions. And I know that sounds simple, but when you're an entrepreneur and you're creative and you're passionate and you have ideas constantly, everything feels urgent. I call it ADED, like attention deficit entrepreneurial disorder, because everything feels like the thing you should do right now. And what she was telling me was that urgency is not a strategy. Feelings are not data. Know your numbers. So let the numbers make the decision. And when I stopped making emotional decisions and started making data decisions, everything changed. Not because I worked harder, because I finally stopped spreading myself across 10 things and put everything I had behind one. And that's when I came up with my micro experience method. And we did the same darn micro experience from 2022 until I kind of sort of retired it in the end of 2025, but not because it wasn't working, but because I'm building 2 businesses and I was exhausted. And I realized for my own peace of mind that even though I was probably going to lose a couple $100,000 in revenue by stopping that micro experience, I knew I had to, because money is not as important as peace of mind. And my coaching business was really growing, and I'm doing my micro experience for that, which is Sold Out Offer Challenge. So if you're listening to this, join it. Not sure when the next one is, but we do it every 6 to 8 weeks, where I really teach you guys exactly how to market to moms. So let's go back. What I teach my clients, and this is what I'm telling you right now, is every single stinking time you get shiny penny syndrome, every time a new idea sounds exciting and that's going to be the thing, and you start building towards it, you're committing adultery, number one, on your main core offer. But you're not just adding something to your business, you're adding a funnel, a lead magnet, content, a launch, back-end systems, team time, your energy, your focus. And you're starting over instead of going deeper. And I say this all the time. Going deeper is where the money is. Data gives you decisions, and decisions give you dollars. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, Trish, what if I go in on one offer and it doesn't sell? What if the one thing I pick is the wrong thing? I'm going to say this with so much love right now, and I need you to hear it. If you decide and you create an offer out of your expertise that is going to create impact in someone specific's life, you have to marry it. And until you're making 6 figures consistently, do not push back on this principle. I am telling you what the data shows, not what sounds exciting. If you think of anyone big in the space, they got big from one offer. Now, once your one offer is creating crazy amounts of money, girl, then you can, get creative, create what you want. But right now, I know it doesn't sound exciting and it doesn't feel creative, but what the numbers prove over and over again across hundreds of women and hundreds that I've worked with is that the offer is almost never the problem. The commitment to the offer is the problem. Think about marriage. If you weren't committed to your marriage, it will never be what you want. The consistency behind the offer is the problem. The willingness to sell the same thing, to talk about the same thing every single day. If you sell your offer will sell. You have to be willing to sell the same thing long enough for your audience to actually trust it. That is the problem. You cannot find out if your offer works if you abandon it every 3 months to build something new. And here's the other thing I want to say. We are about to head into a week. And, by the time you listen to this, I will be heading to Austin to speak at Mom Summit 2.0, then to Stage Leaders to be in Jen Gottlieb's mastermind, which is my own mastermind that I'm in, because I always say, do not trust a coach who's not being coached. I'm always growing and learning, and that is going to impact my clients. I'm always in a mastermind. I always have coaches. Most of the time I'm actually in two, and I'm always in a room where someone is pulling more out of me. And the reason I can show up in these rooms, the reason I can be in Austin and then be on a yacht in Destin with 7 and 8 figure women is because I built a simple business, not a complicated one. One main offer for most of my business building. One platform I mastered before I expanded. Now I'm on all the platforms. I can do that. You cannot. You need to be known on one platform before you start platform hopping. Now you can repurpose, but that's a whole nother episode. So consistent focus for long enough that the machine learned how to run. There's nothing special about me. I want you to hear that. I want to say that clearly. I'm a labor nurse. I'm a mama of 7. I am a woman who homeschools her kids and built a business in the margins of a life that was sometimes barely holding together. But the difference between where I was and where I am now is not talent. It's not luck. It's not that I had some advantage that nobody else had. Now, I do believe there's some really top names out there that knew people, and knowing people does get you known. And that is a smart strategy that I teach inside the mastermind. But the main reason I'm where I'm at is because I decided. And if you haven't listened to episode 45, all about deciding, listen to that now after this episode. But I also did not quit. No matter how awful it felt, no matter if no one showed up, like I was sitting there on an Instagram live with nobody looking, no matter what I was feeling on any given day. And I had some hard ones, you guys, like some of the hardest days of my life have happened in the midst of building Labor Nurse Mama. But I made a decision and I showed up and I built a business simple enough that it could scale, simple enough that I could then start a coaching business and scale that one because I had systems that didn't just depend on me. Here's what I also want to say. And this is the part that hit me differently this week. So this week, my husband got some really terrible news. A friend of his was lost, like he was killed suddenly. And in the moment of grief, I was able to sit with my husband, be present with him. And I just had this overwhelming gratitude last night in bed, not just for the life I have, but for the fact that I can be there, fully there. No shift I have to call and get covered. No manager I have to call and get permission. No one else's bottom line determining whether I get to sit with my husband in one of the hardest moments he's had. I built a business around my life, not my life around my business. Now, I started out building my life around my business, but when I started really paying attention to the data and when I simplified, not only did I scale, but I started living again. And that didn't happen by accident. It happens by design. It happens when your business is simple enough to run without requiring every single piece of you every single day. My team, if they have a baby, they get time off. When someone's baby is sick, we figure it out because I built a business where people come first because I know what it cost me when I was the one who couldn't take time off. That is what simplicity buys you, not just revenue, not just freedom, but real freedom, the kind where you're present for what matters. Family comes first in my world. So let me give you a simple framework, 3 things, okay? Number 1, know your numbers. Pull your data. Start tracking your data. Where is 90% of your income actually coming from? That thing, whatever it is your one offer. Stop abandoning it and start going deeper. Number 2, stop making emotional decisions. The new idea that feels really exciting and you saw this reel where someone's saying, hey, if you do a secret podcast or you do this or you do that, like stop. Like in my world, we create one offer, one lead magnet, one micro experience, and we sell it. Urgency will never be your data. Before you build anything new, ask yourself, what do my numbers say? If your numbers are not saying I have fully maximized this one offer, you do not have permission to start something new, okay? No permission. Number 3, commit to one platform for 1 year, not dabbling everywhere, not I'll post on Instagram and TikTok and Pinterest. I want you to dive into that one platform. Absorb all the information and the education that you can. Now, obviously, Instagram's my main jam, and so is Pinterest. Not a lot of people know that that's where I started making most of my money was Pinterest back in the day, and it still makes me money every single day. But I want you to pick one and master it. Like it's up to you. Now, it is smart to know where your audience is hanging out and then go there. but you can build any platform you want. Okay. Expand when the numbers give you the green light, not when you're like, this isn't working. Let me go somewhere else. Simplicity is not settling. Simplicity scales, complex fails. So if this episode gave you permission to breathe today, to let go of the 17 million things you've been trying to build at once and come back to the one thing, then my job here is done. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you do not miss what's coming next, and write a review. We are 6 episodes into kind of a little 9-episode series that I'm doing, but every single one of them will build on a theory of the last. And you need to binge them, okay? Make sure you write a review for us. That's really, really important and helps us. And it helps the gods that will know that you like the podcast. So I get DMs all the time telling me how much they love the podcast, but people are not writing reviews. So I'm begging you to write a review. If you have a business friend who is drowning in shiny pennies right now, send her this episode. It might save her months and months of unnecessary chaos. Come find me on Instagram at I am Trish Ware and tell me, what is your one offer? The one thing you're committing to go deeper on. I want to know. I read every single one of our DMs. All right. So that was your cosmic slap on the booty for this week. Keep it simple, go deeper, and go sell your offer. I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.